morning, everybody. It's Jenny Norris, and this phone is not going to read either. Connectional weird. Everybody, welcome to Home Staging Talk Live. And let me delete the thing here. Okay, so those of you that are tuning in as you come on, you can. If most of my words aren't in sync, I might just slow down how I talk today. Anyway, welcome to Home Staging Talk Live, brought to you by the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. I'm Jenny Norris. I'm the chairwoman for IHOSP. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If you could immediately share the little button at the bottom of your screen or your phone, that would be awesome. We like to reach as many people as possible. This is a conversation with the people that are interested in the home staging industry, that are in the home staging industry, that just want to know more about it. Maybe you're on the design side and you want to add home staging to your business. This is a great show to watch because we talk about all sorts of great topics relative to building your business, dealing with clients, trends, things like insurance for your business, etc. So it's just an ongoing conversation within the home staging community, because the only way we get stronger is to talk to each other and have conversations that support what we're doing with each other, with colleagues, within our business and so forth, and really put a stamp on the industry moving forward. So very excited to be with you this morning. We got a great show. Before I get started, I want to give a couple of announcements, little reminders for all of you. So first of all, the Home Staging Industry Awards for our association, for our conference. Some of you guys are starting to submit, so I appreciate that. Just remember the deadline is September 4th. September 4th, you have to have your submittals in. IHOSP Staging Industry Awards.com. IAHSP Staging Industry Awards.com, and there's different categories you could submit your information in. So we'll also probably have a couple of additional recognition things at the event based on conversations I had over the weekend or from Sunday. So John and I just got back from Las Vegas Market. We did a quick trip with Krista Jessup. So Krista's there, hello. We ran out there to do our special segment on Monday for the Scott brothers. And on Sunday night, we actually did the penthouse party at Kelly Ellis's place. And so hopefully you guys caught some of the live video I did there and also the pictures. And it was a really fun event. All sorts of industry people that are in like HGTV and the Design Network and TLC and so forth. These people have, mostly in the design side, they have their shows and so forth, and or they rep different product lines, or they're connected somehow to that industry. And so it's great for us to be able to connect with them, because there definitely is a crossover with staging and design and some of the things that we're looking to accomplish, even material trends or looking to buy certain things, and just making that connection. So it was definitely a beneficial time there. And of course, Edie Keach and Kevin Tain joined us as the special winners for the contest that we put out from Joseph Hecker's Design Talk Live and my Home Staging Talk Show Live. And I was able to finally meet Joseph in person, so that was really great. Felt like I knew him already because we talk so much and see each other online. So it was fun to be able to see people in person. And I want to give a special shout out to Kelly Ellis. Thank you so much for being the hostess with the mostest. Your place is beautiful. It's, she said it's kind of, she wanted this New York loft sort of feel, but it's not sterile. If you guys can imagine a real open concrete floor type thing with the big pipes and so forth, as the metal exposure. But she made it pretty because she has her tile lines, which are mirrored, or they have tile with like some bling around it. It's really gorgeous, and just a lot of really fun elements, and then a lot of memorabilia, collectibles like the cowbell from the Saturday Night Live skit with Christopher Walken, where he wants more cowbell. Oh my gosh, and Will Ferrell's like doing the thing and his shirt's coming up. So they have that, just a lot of different things like that. Wonder Woman, and these are all things that they have acquired through a charity that Kelly heads up as far as the chairwoman for. This group is called, I think it's the Children's Miracle Network, and I'll get the right information to put it on there. But I wanted to learn more about that because it's something that I would like our association to support this fall with a donation to her event, which is actually happening right at our conference, so she will be unable to join us after all. But really a great outreach and support for children and families going through issues related to illnesses and so forth. So, but it was just really fun to be there. And, you know, anytime you can get around colleagues and network and talk to people and meet people, that's always a positive thing. So we had a great time. I know, Kevin, I see you on. And me and Edie hopefully had a great time. So we made a productive trip. Of course, we don't go to market without talking to our key vendor sponsors. So we made it around to quite a few of them on Monday, and then I know Krista went back yesterday to say hello to everybody who's coming to our conference, the people that were there, and we just really appreciate their support of our association, our members, and our event. And so we'll be learning a little bit more about them in the weeks to come on this show. Those of sponsors that are available will be able to come on and kind of talk to you all about their company, their products, their services, and what are they offering to our association, and then some things we're going to be doing especially for conference. We talked to the vendors about putting packages together for ease of ordering, because honestly, I was really frank with some of these people, and I said, I don't have time to go through a 300-page catalog and then have to go match up SKU numbers on a separate little thing. And I said, just put a package together that gives me price points as a stager, that this is what you can get for this amount, this is this amount, and so that would be easier for us to order. And also we're going to come up with collections that are staging friendly, if that makes sense, that are things that you could put in different houses that are very useful, because we don't want in staging really loud area rugs or things that are too busy, right? Because things are supposed to be in the background. And that's the same thing for artwork. We want things that give color and look great, but they're not going to go boom. You're not going to draw your eye to that piece of art necessarily, because it's supposed to be kind of in the background, and the house is what's being set off. So our goal is to work with these companies to come up with packages and narrow down some of the selections, so it's much easier for us to be able to purchase and order quickly, because most of us don't have the time to go through all that information. And God bless you if you do. I don't enjoy that. I like shopping, but I don't enjoy doing that. So I got a few things at market to use in staging coming up, which I'm excited about. And you know, anytime you guys can get out there, those of you that have a business where you're at the point where you're adding inventory or want to be able to purchase, it is a worthwhile trip. Most of the places don't ship like that, so you're going to have to think about when you need inventory, plan ahead, and that's where my downfall is a little bit. I will run out of artwork, let's say, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm out of artwork, and I need it tomorrow for a staging, so then I'm running to the stores to get things versus ordering wholesale from these dealers. And so it's just about planning ahead. And so those of you, that's my piece of advice for those of you that are looking to acquire things. The artwork, the area rugs, you'll find the pricing is really much better than in the stores for the most part. And then of course it's the shipping. So they have special arrangements for shipping, whether they'll say if you order so many pieces, shipping's free, or maybe you can combine an order with a colleague in your area, which we've encouraged our chapters to do. That's also very wise. And a lot of the places have to ship to a commercial location. So those people that have warehouses, that works. But you know, a lot of storage units will allow you to ship to their location. And that then saves the residential delivery fee, or some places just, some of the companies will not even ship to a residence. So you have to get that commercial or business location. So work on that, and as your business needs it and as your business earns it, then you want to start looking at some of these companies to purchase from. But they have really beautiful, I mean, the artwork, I was so pleased when I went and looked at our vendor sponsors artworks and the area rugs, the accessories. We went to Classic Home, and that was our last stop on Monday before everything was shutting down. And they have really great, you know, accent pieces and furniture that's unique. So familiarize yourself with the different lines. You can also use this, of course, for staging to live, which is decorating or design side, and be able to customize things for your clients. So we're looking at adding bedding lines. We've been talking about that. I know Sandra was really hot on that this whole year. So there's a couple of the vendors that actually have really nice bedding lines. Some are more high end, and then some are going to be more priced more affordably. And then we're going to try to match, do our best to say, If you have this bed set, then combine it with these pillows that they also carry. So again, more of like a curated package versus you guys having to look through 500 pillows or 25 bed sets or whatever it is. We're going to narrow the focus because if you're like me, and I believe most stagers, you're wearing multiple hats. We don't necessarily have buyers for our businesses, and I know some people might. I think that's companies that are quite a bit larger than a lot of stagers as you're getting started doing this. So anything that can make it easier is our goal, right? So that was really fun. All right, let's talk about Monday, what happened. So Monday morning, we all arrived at Kelly Ellis's penthouse. We were going to do the Scott Brothers live segment. So thank you, those of you that tuned in. And I had gone through the tutorial with their assistant, Stevie, who's great. She's relatively newer. She's been with them a couple months, and she does a lot of their social media. She's really familiar with that. So she and I went through this whole Facebook live test like we're doing here, where people can join in. And she said, okay, we're all set to go. Well, turns out that the Scott brothers, understandably, don't want to come through their personal profile. So on a show like this, where I'm using my profile, people can come in with your personal profile, but you can't do it with a brand page. So they thought they were using their brand page, and that was what the disconnect was, and they don't ever open up their personal profiles. So it's a learning experience. I actually was able to speak to both Jonathan and Drew on my phone privately to kind of go over some of this, and going to be looking into different ways that we might be able to do this show with a different kind of reach. So I'm going to be talking to Joseph about that as well, because there's some conflicting information that I've received, because our whole goal is to reach as many people as possible. And my understanding is that the algorithm works best through a personal profile, but then Drew yesterday was telling me that that's not necessarily the case. So the great news is that they were able to come on my other cell phone. So Krista, God bless you, was holding the cell phone up to the to the camera, the live on Joseph's. And yeah, I've done that before when my stupid tripod thing wasn't working, and your arm gets tired. But so hopefully you guys were able to hear them. If John actually had my phone going, but he was kind of a little bit back, so the sound may not have been that great. So if you want to hear more of the better audio, go watch it on Joseph Hecker's show, because it was very clear as far as what they were sharing. And they talked about some of the new things they're working on. They just wrapped up filming in Nashville, I believe they said. And so, and then of course, Drew talked all about his wedding, and they have a CD out. So Jonathan asked them about, Joseph asked them about singing, what they've done with that. And so Drew shared that he actually did a song for Linda, his new wife, at the wedding, and it was on TLC, so you guys could probably find that segment and watch it. But it sounds so romantic, and it was really kind of fun. So we like learning kind of personal things about people. It's not just strictly business. But then of course they did encourage everybody to come to the conference and learn and get around your colleagues. And of course they're a huge draw, because who wouldn't love to see the Property Brothers in person, right? So you're going to get, time with them, with photographs, book signing, conversation, and plus they're going to be sharing from stage, and they'll have a Q&A afterwards, so we'll have people come up with good questions for them. And they're just so natural on stage and on TV, and that's how they are in person. So I'm really excited for that. So I apologize that we actually didn't have them on camera. The plan was to have the split screen and have them on one side and have four of us like smashed in on the other side. So that was disappointing. That didn't work out, but it is what it is, and it was a live show. There was nothing we could do to stop and start over and figure that out, because we didn't have the information about what their expectations were versus ours, because I didn't actually get to talk to them directly prior to the show. I was going through their staff. So anyway, I did have a great reach. Thank you for all those of you that tuned in. And so again, those of you that are watching right now, if you could go ahead and share, that would be great. Share the segment. I will say, if you want to go to Las Vegas Market, do it in January when it's a bit cooler. We got home last night, and I think Denver's been, it's been fairly warm, but it felt like cool because it was 104 degrees at like 11 p.m. On Monday night. We walked out and it was like, just hit you like an oven. So it is quite warm, but of course the showrooms are all air conditioned. It's just that walk from where you get dropped off It's like walking out on Mars or the surface of the sun, it feels like. And then you walk into the different buildings, and of course it's all air conditioned. But I was just sweating. I mean, I'm just standing there. I'm just, you put me under a flashlight and I get hot. I've done that my whole life. But it's just that whole thing of, I just can't imagine living under those conditions all the time. So thank God they got Hoover Dam and the electric things that come off of that, because that city needs AC. I could never imagine if the power went out in the summertime. That'd be horrible. And then on Monday night, we went out with the Kramers and Stacy from Chico and also Rebecca from Seattle. So that was really fun. And then we went to see the Cosmopolitan. There's a place called the Chandelier Bar. And Joseph, I'm going to give a shout out to him because I didn't realize this. He's so modest, humble about it, but he actually designed the light fixture, which is the Chandelier Bar in the Cosmopolitan Hotel. And it's beautiful. It has it looks like pearls from a chandelier, but it's all crystal glass, and they're heavy, but it goes down like 3 stories. So it's quite beautiful. And so we decided to have a drink at the bar and tried this thing called the flower. So I'm never doing that again. You eat this little stem with the flower thing, and I don't even know what it is. It's some, it's like a piece of a flower, but it numbs your tongue. It makes it all tingly. And then you're supposed to drink the drink. Well, I didn't know it was a margarita, and me and margaritas, we don't get along. I don't like tequila in a margarita, the triple sec. It just, that taste is, so anyhow, I took the sip, and everything was like super salty. So my husband's totally laughing at me. And then I said to the bartender, I need water. But it was still salty. But you know what took it away? Raspberries. So he gave me 3 raspberries, and that neutralized the whole experience with that flower drink. So Chad Bolts, if you're watching this, because you're the one that told me we had to go do this, I tried it, and I won't do it again. So at least I can say I did it. John actually liked it, so I don't know. But what's really cool is while we're standing there, this whole group comes behind us, and they're all being like super loud. And at first we're kind of like, what's going on? They're kind of annoying, and these girls, it's called an electric daisy. Okay, so yeah, that's what Kevin says. So he knows the name of the actual thing I ate. So we're sitting there, so it's John, Krista, and me, and these people behind us, and they're just, and I don't mean to diss women, but when sometimes we get some alcohol in us or whatever, you get louder, and it's like, that kind of laughing. So I'm like, what is going on? So John turns around, and there's this one big guy there, and he strikes up a conversation. Well, it turns out all these people were from Wayfair, and then the guy we were talking to actually has a line of furniture and big all these warehouses in Southern California and over in Georgia. And so we made this connection, and they're interested in being part of our association vendors. And so you network even when you're out having fun. That's the goal. And the Wayfair people were really great, and I made a point to talk to them because our Wayfair rep doesn't work for them anymore, and I have been having a really hard time hunting down our good connection for them. So anyhow, got some business cards, going to follow up. People super excited about our association and partnering with us. We locked down another person who's going to come to conference as a vendor, so it became a good productive revenue trip as well for our association. And so all in all, it was a great trip. John and I both felt like we'd been gone a week. We were so tired. And we went to bed. We didn't go stay up all night. We don't do that anymore. Or I think I've done that like once in my life. But anyhow, it's just draining because there's lots of walking, and it's so hot. And then you want to go out and see the sights, and there is so much to see there. So really you need more days to do it. And then also, market is great, but also going back when it's maybe not that time of year to see some of the other things. So okay, so that was our recap of Vegas. All right, so we have a special guest for our show today, Kat Troulinos, and she is from Houston, and her company is called Ta-Da Staging by Kat. So Kat, if you're watching, and I know you are because I can see your little face, go ahead and request to join in. Go ahead and request to join us. We're going to talk about breaking into the builder market. So Kat's topic at our conference is about builders. So she's not going to give all the secrets away. We're going to talk about the industry, and her background is quite interesting, how she got into her past and how she got into working with builders and then moved into staging, and how her business is running now. So Kat, if you're there, you just got a request to join. Click on that little, oh, there you are. Hello. Okay, let's see here. Approve. Oops. There we go. Add. Okay. So it should ask you if you want to go live with me. We're going to get Kat in here from Houston. And happy birthday to Jeff, her husband, yesterday. So everybody say happy birthday, Jeff. Happy birthday. So Kat, is it adding? Hopefully you have to just say yes, you want to be added live. This worked perfectly yesterday, so hopefully we have no tech challenges. And sometimes it's a Wi-Fi thing. We had a great time with Kat and Jeff in Rome. So they came out to the conference in April, and it was really nice because John was there, and Kat brought Jeff, so there was at least another man that we kind of tootle around with, and we had a really good time and got to know them much better, being able to spend time with them. So let me see what's happening. So it says approve. So Kat, it's on your end. You need to say yes, you would like to join in live. Hopefully Jeff is there helping you. Good, it's connecting.
Hi, it worked. How are you?
We're learning.
Yes,
we're learning.
Yes, I was, my picture of you the whole time I was watching you like this, because for some reason it wouldn't go, horizontal. But I'm the right direction, yeah?
Okay, good. So I'm horizontal on my phone, so hopefully for you guys I'm horizontal. So good. All right. Well, welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here.
So tell everybody who you are, where you live.
Okay, I'm Kat Troulinos. I heard brief introduction, and I am from Houston, originally from Southern California, and my company is Staging by Kat. I have.
So share a bit about your background, because you had a whole life before you became into staging. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'm ancient. When I tell everyone, it's like, how old are you? So
what's the number?
I worked corporate America for many years. Everything from IT for many years, advertising, and then got into real estate. Well, prior to that, I always had a fascination with color and design, studied color and design, had a stint where I was a personal shopper for some key, professional women. Kind of, the lines kind of blur, as you mentioned, where design crosses over with staging. Excuse me. I think color and design and that whole sensibility kind of crossed over. It did for me as well. Particularly, I felt that, dressing yourself or someone else to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative definitely crosses over into spaces, right, that we design or stage. So got out of corporate America, really, had, just had my fill, I guess, of the business to business connection, and working on, $30 million contracts and losing them for little small, micro pennies, things like that. I thought I really need to get into something where I can connect with people. So I segued into real estate, and that was about 18 years ago, I guess, in Southern California. Loved every aspect of real estate. And then in moving, after just a couple of years, we moved to Texas, where Jeff was raised. And I thought, I want to stay into real estate. I love real estate, but it's too freaking hot out here to canvas, the territory.
Yeah, back then, door to door.
Back then you did door to door, right? You canvassed, you put on, little door knockers and things like that. So I had always wanted to break into the new home business in California and just wasn't there long enough to do that. So began, I guess about 15 years ago, started off with a small builder, a build on your lot, Jim Walter Homes. They were in business for like 50 years, segued to a large builder, Centex Homes, and then on to some other award-winning builders where I was there, and actually ended my career as their in-house stager when the market kind of downturned. And so that's kind of how that kind of, the design, the color, I didn't mention theater. We had theater sparkled in there, kind of segued into a downturn market where they were closing down model homes, basically. Um, so they had to really just cut the bleeding, but they still needed to sell these homes. So they hired me and two other folks in the Houston area to be the closeout specialist, and I was like, gee, we're competing against model homes here. There's no sizzle. We've got model homes down the street. So I started researching staging, and of course, Barb Flores from stagehomes.com came up. I'm like, if I'm going to get accredited, it's going to be with the industry. So I waited actually a couple of months because she wasn't training in Dallas for a couple of months, and trained with her directly in Dallas, and they supported that. Back then, I would say they had a budget for what we probably don't do too much anymore, vignette staging. We'd do a couple of rooms and some pop items and small pieces of furniture, but it worked. It was just a phenomenal success. So time to leave, and that was, gosh, just 4 years ago. Somehow it seems like 15 years, and sometimes it seems like 10 minutes.
I know.
But 4 years ago, I decided to leave, and my intention was actually to get back into real estate and have a value add with my staging abilities. It pretty much took on a life of its own, the staging, and pretty much I do real estate by referral only. And I think it's back to a passion. I mean, I love all things real estate, and they are so tied together, but I really have a passion, and of course that creative outlet for the staging, designing, that part of it.
Right, and I find, because we have, in our classes, we'll have realtors that'll say, "Oh, I want to add the third day. I want to have a staging business," because they like that creative.
Yes.
And what I believe happens over time is you do gravitate towards one or the other. It's really hard to serve both masters.
It really is.
And so, yeah. So, and we've had some stagers that get into real estate, and then they still stage their listings, but their passion is, that thrill of the kill, the real estate, the hustle with that. And then there's the others that they maybe don't enjoy that as much, but they really like the creative and helping people. So
yes.
I can tell that this is your bailiwick. This is your niche, the creative side, making things look beautiful. Yeah. And it's, I always like learning people's backgrounds. So working with builders. So we're going to talk about diversifying your niches. So those of you that have had the marketing book that Barb and I wrote, one of the things we talk about in one of the chapters is that, we talk about the power of 3 with staging, like high, medium, low, and 3 things on a surface creates balance. Well, with your business, you don't want to have your eggs all in one market niche basket. So we talk about you want to diversify, and at least 3 market niches that you serve. So a lot of stagers will do, obviously, staging to sell, vacant occupied houses. Then they might do like staging to live. You might do color. Well, working with builders is one of the niches within the staging to sell side. And a lot of things stagers are sort of intimidated to contact builders. Like, how do you even begin? Like, where would you even start to break into that market? So what would you say?
Sure, and that's a great question, and I'm going to give you, Jenny, and the viewers, my perspective. And I understand whether there's people from other parts of the country or of the world, really, that it could be different. But in my experience in the greater Houston area with the builders that I have worked for, and that both from a community manager aspect as well as stager, there's just as there's clients, there's investor flippers at a low end, and there's multi-million-dollar, so you're going to speak to the builders, and I'm finding in really just this year, there's the corporate builders, the big box, I'm going to call them the big box builders, which is what I have experience in the most from the other side, from the inside standpoint. And they have a different set of criteria, even decision making, than say I'm meeting tomorrow with a smaller niche builder of Houston, Galveston, Austin, completely different. They don't do communities, they do custom homes. So there's a different decision maker and a different budget, a different process for them. But so So what I would suggest for someone just starting out is if you have an affinity for a particular builder or a community near you or someone that you'd really, say, I'd really like to partner with them. My recommendation would be to go and visit the community manager. They have different names: sales counselor, community manager. That's the position that I held. And they're pretty much responsible for that entire community. Picking the designs for the spec homes, of course, making sales, building homes from the ground up, and holding the hand of the buyers throughout the process. As well as a kind of a little known fact, and I'm not going to give all my tips and tricks before Charlotte, but you want to ask them, I've been blessed to have 25 years of excellent Fortune 500 sales training. I'm amazed that a lot of people don't know what wtih is, because I talk about that in my classes. I'll say, okay, y'all know what wtih is, right? The realtors know. What does that mean? Okay, well, wtih is what's in it for me. And so for those who don't know. And so that's what you want to kind of find out from the community manager is two things. What's in it for them, okay? And where is their pain, okay? And this isn't any sales, but this is really true of getting into the build world. What is their pain? What is their pain point? And their pain point can be discovered, through some pretty basic questions. And, hey, how you doing? How many do you have on the ground? Learn their lingo. How many do you have on the ground right now? That means how many completed showcase or inventory homes. Tell me, are any of them going to have a birthday? Okay, that's another lingo we talk about, because there's those ones out there that are ready to have a birthday, that are just the perfect, the perfect project for a stager, because they've got a difficult floor plan. Maybe it's next to a power, whatever, or maybe it just has a funky layout. Great. We love those. That's what we specialize in.
So when you say birthday, is it, so would it be like, have they been on the market a year, or are you saying like a month or so?
So the community
these are ones that they've been sitting.
Gets a report, and her division manager gets a report aging, the aging of the inventory. Okay, and so that's a good low-hanging fruit to start with. Typically, it's been my experience, and I really don't have the desire to do complete model homes, every single room of a complete model home. I do what I call, and I actually learned this from I think one of our conventions last year, is model home light. And that's what I'm starting to pitch to builders is, how we can save you some, considerable amount of money doing model home light. Because here's what I experienced as a community manager. People would come in and literally, I would have agents and people lifting up furniture. Oh, where'd you get this? Looking at tags. Where'd you get that? Lifting up chairs, and that's not what you want. But designers, they are, and I'm not putting down designers because that's their job, but they make more money the more stuff they can put in. So they pack them, pretty heavily. It's not staged. They're going to do all the custom, the painting, the murals, the built-ins, pack it with as much furniture as possible, because that's how they've been trained, quite frankly. But what I think builders are finding out is that you don't need that much stuff. So what I'm doing here in Houston more is doing, showcase, and why it's a great market, to diversify yourself in is because, like investors and realtors, it can have a repetitive value for you. What we have done is get your foot in the door and stage, their problem child, stage that.
Yeah.
It's going to sell quick. And, you can have it written in your package however you like that. If it sells within the first 30 days and you have a 60-day contract for just a moving fee and a small install fee, we will segue it to the next one. And we'll, keep moving it. Because with builders, unless they're your niche builders, many of the plans are pretty basic,
similar.
Very similar. Yeah, very similar. So it's pretty easy to just move them right down the street to another one so that they, can kind of maximize their costs as well.
Yeah, 'cause I remember back in when I lived in California, we established relationship with Pulte Homes, which is a big production builder. So they had, the big neighborhoods, and they actually had this really genius program that people can pitch to builders even now. Somebody goes into, they want to buy a home in their new community. So when you go in as a buyer, you do have to put a deposit down,
Right.
right, to hold your, you're gonna, this is my little, I'm looking at the little map, I want this lot. There's maybe a premium, whatever. So you write a check to hold your spot.
Yeah.
So what Pulte was doing, this was so smart. They would actually siphon off a portion of that money then to help these people sell their current home because maybe they weren't sold yet. They would be considered a contingent buyer because they hadn't sold the current house they're in to be able to move into the community.
Right.
So they would siphon off, a couple $1,000s was their budget, and they would allow the stager, whoever they were partnering with, to use those funds to stage the existing home for sale. And because it was an occupied house, we rarely needed that full amount. And so it looked like Pulte was paying for it, right? We're going to help you sell. We want you to be able to move and get a great price and come here. And so let's say that the buyer then goes, you know what, we've changed our mind. We really don't want to buy in your community. We just changed, we changed direction. So they would refund the deposit less the amount they'd put towards the staging and give the person the money back. Well, the money was the person's already, so that was sort of the way it was presented, it was Pulte being the good citizen and saying, we're going to use this money, we're going to apply it towards, helping you sell. But really what it was part of that deposit. So I thought that was genius. And we did a lot of business with
Hmm.
them before the market crashed.
Yeah, because they went out of
Yeah.
business,
So
didn't they, Pulte?
I don't think they're totally out of business, but they did close up in a lot of places. There were a lot of builders we worked with that did go under, like John Lang Homes, who was out of Southern Cal. They had subdivisions up in Northern, and they went belly up. It was really a terrible time for builders that had, um, you know, gone on a limb and started building
Right.
all these communities, and then especially in the Sacramento area where I was, they just abandoned
Mhm.
subdivisions. It was really
Oh yeah,
terrible.
we had
But
it
there
out
are
here
now,
too. Yeah, where they just simply there were several that went on.
yeah.
But
Yeah, and so
that's
so that's a great it's a great program. Now, when you work with production builders, they're not going to pay you, they're not going to give you a credit card to pay you. So I found a lot of times they had net terms. So you have to have a business then that if you are not able to float the revenue and wait for them to pay you from an invoice or whatever their net terms are, net 30 or whatever it
that's
is,
a very
you
good
got to
point.
establish that up front.
I run
Hmm.
across that teaching my Trek classes. When builders are sponsoring it, it's
Yeah.
like I have to foot the cost for the school that I pay and collateral and all of that. So yeah, you do need to be cognizant of that. But on another note, there's as you talk about many avenues or windows into the business. We're just now expanding, which we're really excited about, our relocation, senior relocation, packing, decluttering, what we call Tada's freedom from stuff
That's great.
plan. And so,
Free yourself.
yeah, freedom from stuff, and it's I'm excited because it's a recession proof because we're all downsizing, right sizing, all that kind of stuff. But with the builder as well, that's a conversation. Let's say you're not in a position to do a net 30 or whatever, or you don't have the inventory at this point to do model home like showcase or inventory homes. And that's another thing I would suggest also is always be cognizant of what you have either in your inventory or access to, because you don't want to go in and do, do a how can I put it nicely? You just don't want to do a $200,000 home furnishings or staging for what should be a 500,000.
Right.
And so go and seek out the ones that that you'll be able to satisfy. But on that end, those sales counselors or sales community managers would love to hear and have resources about packing services, stage to dwell, stage to sell. Hey, Miss Community Manager, I know your clients are probably building homes and it might be getting close to sheetrock and they haven't sold their home yet. Have they staged their home? Let me take a look at the pictures for you. Well, maybe we can help them out and help you get that home sold for them so they can move into your new home. It's a win-win. Again, it's the with them for them. They're going to be happy to talk to you about that, and share your information to help them help their clients get into the community. So,
And so Yeah, and you talked a little bit about some of the things that you find in model homes because she's very true. Those of you, I love going to model homes. So I like get a lot of
Oh
ideas.
yeah.
I like to see the color schemes and some of the things they work. Of course, everything's all glued down so people can't steal it. Little
I love
accessories.
fake
But I
food.
remember,
I love fake food,
yeah,
Jenny. Yeah, that's my
yeah,
big takeaway.
exactly.
I have fake cakes, fake coffee, fake
Yeah.
straw. I love it. Yeah, that's my model home infusion.
Well, and then so I remember, seeing model homes where they were just the wallpaper. They were so it was so, and I'm not seeing this as much now, but it was so over the top, and they would have all the theme rooms, and things would sometimes coordinate, sometimes they didn't, and so buyers would come in, and the risk on that, because those are decorated or designed, not staged, is that doesn't appeal to everybody. So you're going to get somebody that comes into the models like, oh my gosh, I love everything in here. They're going to get some people coming to go, I hate that, I hate their wallpaper,
Yep,
I hate this, and so they're focused on the stuff versus the experience of the floor plan.
absolutely.
And so what I'm seeing here more in the Denver area is they do still keep a same like color scheme, and we do that with staging too. We'll kind of weave the same scheme throughout the house. They will put custom treatments on the walls, but it's more neutral, I would say. And then one of the tricks, of course, they use is they shorten the beds
Yep.
to make the rooms look bigger. So what we think is a twin or a queen is really shrunken because that's a little strategy they use to make the rooms feel larger.
Yep.
So I like getting ideas from them. However, builders can save a lot of money by not going the over the top route. And a lot of them are budget conscious. And so the
Yes.
staging for builders and model home merchandising, you can call it,
Yep.
um, is something that stagers are getting more and more into. Probably within the last 5 years, it's greatly increased on our side because we understand the target buyer and what they're looking for. And we're not going to tell them to put fuchsia and black wallpaper because it's striking in a kitchen or a bedroom because that's the first thing the buyer's
Yep.
going to want to rip
We're
off.
not going to oversell them. And, and again, I mean, I've heard, I've heard of upwards of, and I'm sure that's including furniture. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it's window decor, but 100 to 130,000. And so they're
Easily.
very excited
Easily.
to hear about model home light or model home
Right.
merchandising, as you call it. They are absolutely. Now, you know me, you've probably heard me either write or say I'm not one of those safe mono beige on gray, stagers. I'm just not.
Right.
Because I have to amuse myself, quite frankly. I really do. At my age, I can't bore myself. So I'm known to use a red couch and a in
Yeah, why not?
red and black rug and a purple couch. And quite frankly, I get just raving reviews on it. So on that note, I
But the
know it's a
difference
little
is,
off topic, but on that note, I would say, you have to be confident in color, but don't be afraid of color. Even in the builder world, when I first started staging for them, my district manager at one point said, Kat, it was a bold color we had used, but they remembered it and we sold it. So sometimes
yeah,
you have to give them something memorable because here's what I saw as a community manager. And I tell realtors this, please don't do this, is realtor comes in with client, you're going to go show them, walk some showcase homes, inventory homes, look at the model homes. And you do the, well, what do you think on a scale of 1 to 10, or how does this feel? Will this work for your family? I don't know. This is the 12th home I've seen today. They're all starting to look alike. So what does that say? I mean, there's pretty basic in builder, big box builder track homes that kind of the basics start to look the same. They mirror each other and how they
right.
build the floor plans, the open concept, the flip study and dining and things like that. So sometimes, yes, it needs to be cohesive, but putting something memorable, making it cohesive, of course, can work in your favor, even in staging
Right. Well,
itself.
and the thing that was memorable about what you just shared was the furniture was brightly colored, the rug, something that is memorable, but it wasn't the tile they used in the kitchen. Like they didn't put purple tile
Movable
or
color.
paint the
Yes,
walls.
isn't that? I think
Yeah. So
you
the
guys
movable
trained
color.
movable color. My team calls
Yeah.
me the pillow whore because my
Yeah.
one of my warehouses is, I think, nothing but pillows. It looks like at home, but it's movable color, so I can not
Yeah.
bore myself a lot.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All
But
right. So I'm looking at the questions I had. So let's see. We had color through. So the average. Let's talk about average budgets with working with buyers or builders. Excuse me. So we've talked about when they work with a designer, they often do have six-figure budgets
Yes.
for sure.
Right.
So when we talk about staging, and I know the Kramers when we were with them for dinner, they do some of these in San Antonio and probably Austin. They're doing some of the builder things. So they're actually selling the furniture to the builders, not just rental. So their budget could be a five-figure, like a significant five-figure, but it's still under that six-figure designer side because they're
Yes.
not putting as much in.
Yes.
And then of course, if you're doing the builders, like I don't want to own the stuff, but how long is, so you'd want to ask, well, how long do you think you'll need the inventory? How long is the inventory going to be tied up? So then if you know it's not going to be 1 month, if it's a production builder, it might be 6 months to a year. Maybe they have that package and then you decide to sell your stuff off, or you require that they do purchase, because I think renting that stuff for that long term wouldn't be fiscally smart. But we work with a lot of builders that are spec home builders,
Mm-hmm.
and they might build a property and they have a particular buyer in mind. They're going to stage probably for a couple of months. That's somebody you probably would want to rent to,
Yes.
because they don't want to own the stuff and it's not staying out long enough for it to make sense fiscally for them to acquire it.
Well, can I ask you a question on that, Jenny? Because I haven't really dealt with the, although as we gain wholesale accounts, and after Charlotte and going to the wholesale event there, Jeff and I were talking about, kind of marketing, packages, because I know a gal that contacted me to give me some flat screen TVs. She does that, like, $10,000 for X number of rooms. And I thought, that's another window, if you do open wholesale
Right.
accounts, of selling packages of furniture. And as I am getting more design clients, I'm finding that is weaving itself into what I need to offer, should they decide to pick the things that I have accounts with at this time, to sell furniture. But on the builder side, you don't believe it's profitable because I have found on a couple that homes that, let's face it, and this is probably why I don't, I'm not big on my stats, because I'm only in control of one thing, and that is staging it fabulously. I'm not in control
Right.
of pricing it correctly. And as you know, two things will sell a home: the right price and fabulous staging.
Right.
So, it's been quite profitable for me to, unfortunately for the seller, but to have, that monthly billing should it go on. And of
Right.
course, your million plus, they do take longer. So that becomes profitable. You're saying it wouldn't be for a bit on a builder side so much, and why?
Well, I would think, like, so if you're doing a property, let's say it's like the production builders, when they have the inventory houses, you might stage it like a regular vacant. You're not going to do the entire
Right.
house. A model home, if they're doing model home light or model home merchandising, you would probably be doing every room because it's the model. So some of the builders we work with, if they know that it's going to take, months and months and months to sell, they might either ask for a scaled discount the longer the property stays out, as far as like a package, a 6 month package or whatever.
Right.
So as a stager, it all depends on what inventory is going in there and do I want to part with it, number one. It is more profitable with the stager to get that ongoing rental every month. Let's face it, that's an income stream
Yeah.
to us. So when you offload it to the builder and you're basically selling it as like a design package, you want to make sure that you're pricing the inventory to the point where you're still netting a profit, because you have to think about, I would have had that stuff in my rotation,
Right.
and be able to net a profit on it, but being able to sell it to them and then they don't have this ongoing monthly bill, that's pretty attractive to them. But then after the house is sold, then they have the onus of, what am I going to do with this? So then, you could actually go back and go, I'll buy it back from you if you want your stuff back. But I think it's a way to present it to builders that they don't feel like there's this capital outlay every month. Maybe come up with a package for a set amount of time. And I think it all goes back to how long do they think that they're going to need the items in the community. The other thing too is I'm working with the builder that we staged for, and so they sold one side of the building and so forth, the other one of the units. And so now we're going to do a refresh because it's been several months that our stuff's been there to model one side. So we're going to do a refresh so it doesn't look stale. So I'll take current things out. I'll bring different things in just so that it gives a fresh perspective.
Fresh look.
That's also something people could pitch to a builder, so it doesn't get that,
Sure.
Doesn't look
Yeah, we call it
stale.
white glove. So would you, just a side note, would you package, let's say you gave them a package, they don't want to store it, they don't want to hassle with it. Maybe you've got a tie-in with an auction company who at the end can take it all and auction it off for them. We've got somebody here in Houston for that, that we actually held a meeting at our local chapter. But would you include everything, Jenny, all the surface decor and things like that as well? Everything.
I would.
Yeah,
I would just do a total
total
package
package.
for all the accessories and so
Yeah.
forth. I just did one for a builder. I said everything is for sale except,
Except
and
that
this is it's not
chair.
a thing. With this, it was this silver disc. It's metal and it's kind of scalloped edges. And I was only ever able to get one, and I love it. And so I did actually sell it to one of my investors, and then I bought it back from him because I'm like, I want that thing back. Then I ended up putting it in his house, and of course they loved it. I'm like, you can't have it. So I excluded. But then when so the buyers did want to buy the living room and the dining room furniture, and so I said, okay, let's price it. I'm not going to give it a depreciated because it's just been sitting there, it was brand new when it went
Right.
in. So I take a look at those things. It's only been a few months, so I thought, well, if they're willing to pay this amount of money for these items, then I'll sell it because then we can go repurchase other things. But so you have to kind of think about what you're willing to part with.
And
I
what you
have
have
heard some
invested too,
stagers,
right, Jenny? I mean, if you had to pay
right,
the logistics warehouse to put it together, you're not going to give them wholesale cost, right? If you buy it wholesale, you're going to mark it up, right? I mean,
right.
I would, yeah.
And And then I've also heard some stagers have partnered with, it could be a builder, whoever they or an investor, and it does take longer than expected to sell. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I have this inventory tied up in this house. It's been 6 months, and I need my inventory back. Well, that's something you have to think about going when you enter a relationship like that, where no, we're not in charge of when the houses are going to sell.
Right.
So you can't then go, well, I'd like to cancel my contract with you. That'd be very unprofessional. So you have to be willing to say this inventory is going to be tied up in there, but you're going to be making a profit monthly, and then you're going to have to probably reinvest in other furnishings if that property doesn't sell right away. Because I'm always thinking like, where's this stuff going to go next?
That's such
You
a
move it
good point
around.
that you make, Jenny, because we're starting to do more and more, high end. And so just by the nature of, $1.5 million or 2.5 million, they're going to take longer. So, you had mentioned earlier, I think in your opening, about planning ahead. And that's what we're trying to do. Like, we're hiring a bunch of people. It's like, build it and they will come, but I don't want to advertise about relocation and packing this and that until I have people and systems in place. And that's the same with the staging. It's like, okay, if I've got X number of, high-end couches out and they're all out in, million plus properties, I better think about the next move and start restocking, because like I say,
Right.
it could
And
take
then
a
and then
couple
you have
weeks to
some
get it, to get a couch or something.
and you have some builders you work with where they are just sort of like, well, you're the professional, do what you think works. And you have others that are very fingers in the pie. They want to tell you, I want this look, I want this here. So they're very have a lot of input and
So
ideas. But then
let me just touch on that if I may,
okay,
because one of my first projects was with my builder. I'm not going to name any names. And some community managers, like you said, they want to know everything. They're
right,
going to tell you things. So I think a huge education process particularly for new homes, because these sales counselors, whatever their background is, they're community managers, they've been sitting in model homes, stuffed model homes. So one of the first things you need to let them know is this is much different than designing. Less is more in staging. We're defining the space. We're going to take that, birthday home and create a natural flow and emotion to how they can live in the home. But we are not going to stuff it packed full of things like your model home, just so we can get them shaking their head, because that can be a huge bone of contention. Yeah.
so one that we're currently working on, so we'll be staging the second custom condo build for them. And so I have, I had my plan, what I wanted to bring in, and I mentioned the word gold. It's a accent tables and end tables, and they're really beautiful. They're round with a kind of metally sculpty. And so he was like, oh no, we don't want to do any gold in here. So I went back, and he's a realtor, but he also has, he likes design flair, and he does his own house with his wife and so forth. So I was like, well, we had to think about who the target buyer is, which is a millennial, most likely. And I said, and they love that color. So it's okay to mix the metals in.
Yes.
And so he actually was like, okay, I trust you. So sometimes you have to push back a little
Yes.
bit, and because we know the trends and the markets, we don't want them dictating too much as far as style and pieces and so forth. But when somebody comes to me like that and says, well, I have a feel like they have a vision in their head, and when they say we want to look really artsy, well, what does that mean? So I'm going to send them pictures of like these are some of the things we've done. Which of these kind of looks do you like? Because I do want them to be
Sure.
happy, and they're all going to be in the realm of appealing to the target buyer. But sometimes that's helpful, so they feel like they have a little bit of say.
Yes.
Because you have these clients, they do want to have a little bit of
Yeah.
control. Michelle Getty was asking for definitions of spec homes, production builders. What do these mean as far as the terminology? So
So a
when somebody
spec
says this,
home, some of the builders that I work for, they don't like it referred to as a spec home.
right,
That is analogous with a showcase home or inventory home. So it's a home that is either actually it's considered a spec home once they lay the slab. But typically, obviously, you're not going to stage it until it's completed. From frame to drywall is about 45 days typically. So it's a home that is pre-built for someone else. Usually the community manager has selected the backsplash and the flooring and the tile and the fixtures and the lighting and all of that. So unless they purchase it under construction, cabinets are already ordered for sure. Everything's been picked. So Michelle, hi Michelle. That's what that is. It's a home built where somebody who needs to move quicker than spending 6 months to build a home, can come out to a community and purchase a home. And those are
and then production is that these large builders building these big communities. So it's going to be the Pulte's, the Centex, the whatever, these big production
yes,
builders. They're putting these huge communities together. Then you have the builders that they're building specific houses that are for. They have a homeowner, a person, individual, couple, whoever, that says, I want you to build this house for me. They buy the lot, the builder builds it to their specifications. It's a unique
custom.
property. And a lot of times, because it's already being built for an individual, those aren't staged. However, if something happens and they change their mind, now the builder has this property that they need to then sell to somebody else. And then, or it could also be a small builder where they're doing, they call it multi-door. You'll hear that. Those are like condo communities or apartments. So they're doing, it's for multi-use. It's not an individual single family home. So they call it, sometimes they'll use the term multi-door. So for those, let's say it's a condo building or an apartment complex, and the investor is building that, they might want to model one of the condos or apartments to get all the other ones to either rent or sell. And so there's a lot of opportunities to align yourselves with builders. So but it starts with listening and being aware of what's going on in your community. When you see building happening, like if I'm driving down the street and I've got time and I see construction happening, I might stop my car and go, who's building the house? What's this for? Is it an investor flipper? Is it an individual that's remodeling the property? Is it a builder that acquired this parcel and scraped it and is now building this property? So it's about getting around the people and asking the right questions to be able to find the right people to work with.
Yep. Yeah, I just actually up the street from my warehouse stopped at a Starbucks, and I had looked for a couple months this sign. It says shoreline from 1 million to whatever, but it looked like it was well under completion or whatever. And I guess I was looking at the wrong side of the building. And last week I went around and I thought, well, it looks like it has an office. I don't think they're completed yet. So long story short, I popped into the office because the developer was there. He's like, oh, you came at the right time. We're getting ready to launch in about a month. We're going to order the furniture. Our designers order the furniture, but we need someone to come in and provide all of the artwork and lighting and rugs and yada yada yada. So
Great.
perfect. So yeah, that's another
yeah.
smaller version of. But like you said, that's just a good point, Jenny. Yeah, keep your eyes open for what's out there. And
Right. Yeah. I mean, and because there's like in our area, the market has been pretty strong and it shifted a bit in June. It's kind of slowed a little bit. So we've staged a couple of properties this month for new build or new remodeling, that they gutted the inside, they remodeled it, maybe they added on, and the expectation was it was going to sell like this, and it hasn't. So then we're coming in and staging it, which is important. And one of them, went under contract within 6 days of staging. And it was kind of an open floor plan. Buyers were confused about how to position the furniture. And so there's a lot of realtors are partnered with builders as well. So you need to ask your realtor clients, do you work with builders? Are they doing little communities, big communities? And of course, the investors, a lot of them are doing, little flips. They might start off with some that are in the lower price points, but a lot of them are getting into the mid-range, even higher price point, because actually there's more margin. If they can get a property that, let's say they buy it for 600 and it's, older, and they're able to, really remodel it and then market it at $1 million or 1.1 or something like that, they can net a really nice profit versus one where the budget's super tight, that their ARV, they just, they value after, they might net 30 or 40,000 out of it. Some of these larger custom flips are actually more lucrative for them.
We're seeing
and
that
then they
too
know
in Houston. Yeah, we're seeing that too in Houston, Jenny. The price points going up, and I'm sure they're realizing that, looking at their spreadsheets, that the higher ticket items, they may have to invest 100 grand or 150, but their margins are, 400,000 on the upside. So yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, and it is all about the dollars. So you want to make sure that you know your pricing really well. You don't want to be giving it away. You don't have to undervalue yourself, but make sure about being able to explain how the pricing might work for them, and maybe even giving them a range initially, because they need to factor that into their financial budgeting for the property. And I know investors have to do that. They're now learning to factor that in up front, so that they don't run out of money. Oh, we can't stage it because we ran out of money. So being able to, educate them about staging, because if they're used to working with a full design package, and they might think, oh, we can't afford 6 figures, coming in with 5 figures, and they look at it over time, I think that's much more palatable for them.
Yeah, and a point I wanted to make, or piggyback on what you made, is Jenny, in terms of spreading out with the builders. That's a very good point in terms of, try to find out what your builder, whether it's a small custom builder, a small local builder, or a big box builder, is. Are they on fiscal, on quarterly? How do they do their books? Because that's critical, again, to hit them at the right spot, relieve their pain at the right spot, because those division managers are looking at the numbers, which may be, again, why they want to not spread it out. They've got the budget for it here, and so they can already take it off the books. So that's, not without getting real technical, but kind of know what their, what their budgetary guidelines are, for the year.
Right. Helps. And then and educating them to be realistic with the budget, because I drove out to a community and gave, they had inventory houses. Somebody went under contract and then pulled out, so it was sitting. And then so I did a proposal for them. I think they must have thought it'd be like $500 to furnish this 3,000 square foot house. And so it's like, no, that's not what it's going to be. So they also need to be realistic, educated about what the staging investment is and what that entails. It's still far less than sitting on the market and price reducing or having to go purchase everything. The staging is still going to be a lot less than that, especially for a property that would expect to sell within a month or two. It's not going to sit for a year.
Yeah.
So
yes, and it's education. I've had investors actually, tell me, what, I had no idea. I'm a new investor, and I had no idea, but I didn't budget it in, but I will now. In my next project, I will have it budgeted in for sure. So yeah, it's an education.
Which is great. There's networking groups you guys can join. Like I belong to the Building Industry Association in California. We would go sponsor or support their events. So there's ways you can get around the builders. So you can just simply Google builder groups in whatever city you live in, investor groups, networking groups, things like that, to get around the builders. And then it's just word of mouth. Ask your realtors. Let people know that you want to break into that market and get a warm introduction. Sure. And off you'll go. So it all starts with just letting people know what you do.
And you can, on that too, you can Google and find out there are specific realtors now who specialize in the builders. And so, you want to partner with them. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we are out of time. I so appreciate you being on. Wasn't she fabulous, everybody? So thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
Yeah. So next week we'll have another great topic for you and another fabulous guest joining us, maybe a couple of them. So I will put the announcement out, but I appreciate all of you who tuned in. Please make sure to share this segment to everybody in your sphere, because she was fabulous, great information. And we just so appreciate you tuning in to Home Staging Talk Show Live, an ongoing conversation with the staging community to reach as many people as possible about the wonderful world that we serve. So thanks so much,
Thanks,
everybody.
Jenny.
We'll see you next week. Bye,
Bye.
Kat.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.